Trigger on!
Welcome, D-Roll, to the Duckface Diaries. We are a World Trigger read-through podcast aiming to discuss the World Trigger manga, volume by volume. I'm Wensleydale Cheddar.
And I'm Hovin with an H, and this month we'll be tackling Volume 10, which covers chapters 80 to 88 and episodes 35 to a bit of 40 of the anime for those watching along.
That is perfectly correct, I hope. We had some hiccups last time, so double check if you can.
Oh, damn it, we're actually covering Volume 12, I forgot.
Oh no, I read the wrong one. Oh well, episode scrapped. Goodbye, everybody. Today we welcome a very, very, very special guest, as someone from the localization team has decided to enable our nonsense by gracing our pod with his presence. So, he's a freelance letterer and touch-up artist for Viz Media, with works such as World Trigger and Black Clover under his wing. He also did Pokemon Adventures, Terraform Mars, I think Astro Lost in Space? I don't remember. He's the founder of the unofficial Osamu Mikumo fan club, of which I am proud member 69.
That's right!
Please welcome Dad of the fandom, Ace Christman. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to be here. I forgot that you were number 69. You held off to get that one too, right?
Yes. I specifically remember, there was a giveaway. You were, close to 60, and I was wondering, oh no, I can't pass up this opportunity. No, I'm waiting for this. Then you, sent me a lovely card with Zapdos and Osamu's saying...
I was gonna say, wasn't it the Zapdos?
From World Trigger to my heart and back door. From Chris's fanfic.
So what number are they? I have to ask, what number are they on now? Because I want a Bagsy 420.
Oh, well, you're gonna have to wait a while. I think we're at 107? 108 maybe?
Well, there you go. Listeners out there, you need to tag Ace on Twitter and ask for memberships.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the viewing figures for my World Trigger video essay will, spill over, but it's been being pretty slow with the podcast on that, so it could take a while.
One day.
That's true. You need to do a sequel where you specifically devote 15 minutes to just talking about the fan club.
World Trigger is a love letter to join the fan club now.
I remember I still have the membership card, but sadly I've lost the postcard when I moved, so that's very unfortunate.
Well, I guess I just have to send you a new Zapdos postcard someday.
Oh, that would be amazing. Thank you. Anyway, yeah. What have you been up to?
I've been rereading One Piece because I'm reading along with the Nensho podcast, this podcast that does retrospectives of various shonen battle series. And I'm going through Impel Down and liking it a lot. I forgot how much, foreshadowing to stuff we're just getting to now that this saga had in it. It's just been pretty cool. So, yeah.
You picked the read-through up several times, I remember.
Yeah, no, I think the last... There was a big gap. I was I finished off Thriller Bark in 2019, and I just picked it up again now.
And now that's... World Trigger is out of the weekly jump. What other series in the magazine have you been enjoying, Ace?
I feel a bit bad. I'm so behind on everything. But I'm really liking Mashal. I think that's one of my favorites right now. But Witch Watch just started this weekend? Last weekend? Recently. Witch Watch started recently. And that's by Shinohara Sensei, so the same person that did Skit Dance and Astro Lost in Space. So I have high hopes for that one, and I have the pleasure of working on it, so it's special to me. So I'm rooting for it.
Oh, that's amazing! I still haven't checked this out, but this is really something to look forward to.
Yeah, no, I've definitely I'm not quite sure where I lie on Witch Watch, but it's definitely both of the chapters out so far have given me a joke that has properly made me chuckle. So I'm looking forward to reading more of it.
I definitely have high hopes. I'm a huge Astro Lawson Space and Scant Dance fan, so I was really looking forward to a new series of his. But yeah, let's talk about today's agenda a little bit, because things are changing up. So since we have an industry guest on for the first time, first we're going to do a quick interview with Ace. Hopefully we won't overlap with so many interviews that you've done in the past as Letter of Viz. Then we'll do a quick recap of Volume 10, as usual, created by Daisuke Ashihara, translated by Lillian Olson, lettering and touch-up done by you-know-who, designed by Sam Elsway, and edited by Hope Donovan and Marlene Fuss. All right, shall we get to the interview?
Let's do it.
Let's.
Okay, so for those who aren't aware, could you give us a brief explanation of what your job involves?
Sure. So as a letterer and touch-up artist, especially for a Shonen Jump series, there's kind of two phases to my job. So, let's talk specifically about World Trigger. So, for this volume in particular, it was running in weekly Shonen Jump. Now it's, in Jump Square, so it's a little different scheduling. For the weekly Shonen Jump, I would get the pages, I'd get the files for it, and I'd get a PDF of how it looks in Japanese. And then a couple days later, I get the English script, and I put on all the dialogue, I subtitle the sound effects, I send it in. It's a very quick turnaround. I try to get the chapter back in, I'd say 3 or 4 hours after I get the script, so it's within the day. At least within the day, just because everything needs to be so fast. It's a weekly series. Well, it was a weekly series, so you just need things, boom, 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 as fast as you can get it.
Oh, wow.
But then when it comes to the graphic novels, for World Trigger, I have when it was running in Jump, I had about 2 months to do all the sound effects on it. So I've already placed the dialogue for the weeklies, so that part's kind of easy peasy, copy paste. I have to, replace all the sound effects now, so I take everything that was subtitled in the weeklies and kind of redraw what I have to and put the sound effects on. And sorry, this is a bad explanation, but it's a lot of retouching, redrawing characters in the city. Yeah, just trying to make it match best as it can to the Japanese version.
I remember, it's quite funny that that's like we're having you on at the end of the invasion, but because I remember you said that Ashihara hates you, because everything during the invasion was so chaotic, there were so many tones, and
taking place in the middle of a city, Ashihara Sensei, please, I don't know how to draw buildings. It was so hard. I mean, I do it for you,
Aww.
World Trigger. I love you so much. You're my baby.
For Osamu.
But I'll still whine about it. Yeah, for Osamu.
How much say do you get over which series you can pick? Can you can they factor in you putting yourself forward as a suggestion in who gets to letter or work on a given series?
It really depends. Usually I just get an offer. Like, hey, we need a letterer for this, but I'm pretty fortunate in that I'm close-ish to a number of my editors, and they know what I like to work on. And if we have a good working relationship, sometimes I find out, Viz is looking into getting this, and I'm like, that's mine, please, let me do it. Please let me do it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. With Shonen Jump titles, it's a little different because usually there's not a something new's coming out, but you don't really know much about it. So it really varies. Usually I just get an offer like, hey, we got something coming up. Do you need more work? Yes, please. No, thanks.
Right.
This one I knew that Shinohara was, it was a Shinohara series. And so the editor was like, hey, let's put the Astra team back together, And so that's what happened. So that was definitely a, yes, please put me on this. So it really, varies.
Obviously, you've been lettering it from the start, but when did you know you were a fan of World Trigger? When did it really grab you?
enjoyed it, I think, from the start. I was like, haha, this is kind of fun. Look at this main character who's kind of useless. That's interesting. But it wasn't until, I think it's volume 3, when Osamu is going against Kazuma, and
Yes.
Kazuma says something like, I don't know what Jin sees in you. He's giving up Fujin for you. And Osamu says, like, let me have one more battle. And I was just like, oh, he's amazing. What is, I don't know, but something at that point I was just like, this series is awesome. And I actually have in my room a picture of that panel that I printed out as big as I could, because the files I get are very large. The pixels per inch, they're quite large. So I have it printed out over 8 sheets of paper.
That's amazing.
And it says Doki Doki Feelings on it. It's really, I mean, it's taped together really poorly, but I've had it for, like 6 or 7 years?
Wow. And
it just travels around when we move, and I put it on a different wall, and I look at it when I go to bed, and my husband's probably like, why? But, that's kind of the moment that I was just like, yes, this is my baby. Osamu's the best, and this series is my absolute joy.
Shame on him. He should share your love for Osamu. I love that fight to bits.
Oh, it's so good. He accepts my love. Perhaps he doesn't support it, but he accepts it. He understands, but he's not a fan of it.
Is this what Wensleydale's like in Railgun, or?
No, I like bits of Railgun. It's Index I can't stand.
Okay.
So a bit more on the localization side. I had a question of what does the localization process for World Trigger specifically look like in terms of your communication with other people involved in it, like Lydia and Caleb and Herb, Marlene, and Sam?
For World Trigger specifically, at first I only had connection and communication with the editors, and that's kind of the norm. For most series, is the editor's kind of the hub.
Okay.
And, all the freelancers go through them. And the designer will go through them. They're kind of just the main hub of that. But ever since Caleb started translating it, we have a little more communication. Not a ton, we're not always talking. But we do talk sometimes about the series and what's coming up and stuff like that. I don't really have any communication with the designer at any time, though. Unless I go into the office and happen to see them, but I actually don't think I've ever met them in person.
That's really interesting. I didn't really know what it looked like.
I guess this is a question I probably should have had earlier, but how exactly did you make your start as a letterer? What were some of your earlier series you worked on?
Okay, so I started as a letterer. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a job, but I knew if I could, I wanted to work in manga. And I magically was chosen for an internship at Viz Media. Viz's main office is in San Francisco, and I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I could do it. It was, kids, let me tell you, uphill both ways in the snow. It was like a 6-mile bike ride to a train to like a 2-mile walk to get there. Totally worth it. I loved being an intern, but part of my job as I was specifically a design intern.
Mm-hmm.
Not very good at the tasks I was given. I was given baby tasks, and I wasn't very good at them.
Aww.
But one task, I mean, I was 20 at the time, so I'll chalk part of it up to that, and part of that it up to I just wasn't very good. I don't have the skills in that area. I don't know how I got that internship. I must have been the only one that applied. Thanks, rest of the world. But I had a task, let's say, at one point where I had to letter some color Naruto pages. And I was like, people do this for a living. This is wild. And so I talked to people about, like, could I get a job doing this? And Pancha Diaz, who is a wonderful person, great editor, was working there, and she gave me a letter test. And so basically I had to letter 3 pages. One was from Mare, one was from Beat the Vandal Buster, and one was from Oran High School Host Club. You know, different varieties, different styles, to see how, you know, my work would be. And the response I got was, yeah, okay, we'll put you in the drawer. And about 2 or 3 months later, I got a message from an editor who was like, hey, I saw your name in the drawer. Can you letter Ultimate Muscle? And I was like, I don't know what that is, but yes. And if you ever want a laugh, read Ultimate Muscle Volume 11 and look at the lettering. It's like a train wreck. It's so bad. When I got my copy of the book, I cried because it looked so bad. But I did letter the rest of Ultimate Muscle. I did from volumes 11 to 29. Soon after that, I did some Zatch Bell, and then Naruto, and I think that was the first three or so years. I was in college at the time, so I could only do a couple series, and then it kind of just snowballed from there.
So you have an Osamu-like journey. In which case, Pancha Diaz was your Jin, I suppose?
Oh, I love that! Oh, that's great. I really like that.
Was this like the volume releases for Naruto, or was this like sort of any of the like Shonen Jump Alpha or Simulpub stuff?
So it was the graphic novel releases. This was way back when they were doing the speed ups. So they had like I want to say it was something crazy like 2 or 3 volumes coming out a month, whereas a quote-unquote typical shonen series, if you're caught up with Japan, will be once every other month. So there were a bunch of letterers working on Naruto at the time, just because it was too much for any one person to do. So they needed...
I see.
Yeah,
they needed the help to catch it up.
I knew One Piece had a speed up around 2010. I didn't know Naruto had one as well.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of the panels you're most proud of, if any come to mind?
So there's one, I don't know if it's actually released yet, but if you're current-ish on the series, I won't spoil anything for people that aren't, but there's a 2-page spread where Chika is shooting through a glass window.
Oh.
And the sound effect goes through, like, part of it's behind the broken glass and part of it's in front of it. And Ashihara sensei or whatever assistant did that, it looks so cool in Japanese. And I had such a good time trying to replicate it. And it doesn't look nearly as cool as the original, but I think that might be my favorite panel I've done in a long time.
It must have been really challenging. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in full.
Well, yeah, hopefully people think it looks okay. It's those sort of sound effects are some of my favorites. A sound effect will like come in and out of the art itself, or like some of it will be behind a character or behind an explosion. It's a really simple visual trick, but I think it adds so much depth to a scene. And it's really fun to do those. And ones like Chika shooting through the window, it takes a lot longer to do them because there's just so many extra little elements. I have to make sure I cut out every piece of glass and make sure it's on top. And, because it's behind glass, it's going to look a little different. It's going to have a little tone on it here and there. So it's a lot more effort, but it's worth it in the end. And it's one of those jobs where you finish and you're like, yeah. Accomplishment. Yeah, on the flip side, there are lots of... a very common sound effect in World Trigger is
Oh yes. I always associate it. I always associate it with you channeling the intro, the first intro for World Trigger. I always expect change is the new world to come after that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to think about that, because I was gonna say it's really one of the most boring sound effects, because it's very, very common, and it's generally really easy to clean up, which is nice, because a quick cleanup is always good. But it's just so like, yeah, we'll have 800 of these in a volume, so...
Yeah, I can see that getting monotonous.
Especially like in The Invasion, where it's supposed to be like a siren, but also it kind of appears in tense moments, from what I gathered.
Yeah, it plays... I want to say like quadruple duty. It's like, yeah, like a siren, and it could be kind of like a silence sort of thing, or like the wind blowing, or like, yeah, serious moments. It does a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, and also in the recent volumes we've discussed it's kind of, I've noticed it's kind of overlapping with all these other sounds, which must have been hell.
It's an adventure sometimes.
If it's something like you're comfortable discussing, so I was always wondering how letterers, especially freelance letterers, are paid. Are you paid per page, per character, and how does like touch-up and sound effects come into it?
There's a pretty big variety. I used to get paid when I started with Ultimate Muscle. I got paid per page, and after, I want to say maybe 3 years, they switched it to per volume. And so I get paid per volume for graphic novel releases. I work with mainly Viz, but I also do some 7 Seas books, and they both pay per volume.
Okay, so is it like separate for simulpub and for volume release, or?
Yes, so I'll get paid per chapter for the simulpubs, and then I get paid another fee when I do the graphic novel.
Okay, I see.
And the cost does vary. There's kind of like a flat fee for simulpub chapters. There's a fee for the monthly chapters, and then there's a fee for weekly chapters. And as far as I can tell, it's pretty flat fee for those. But as far as how much I will make per volume, each series has a set amount. Okay. So, like, it won't be like volume 8, I made blank, and volume 10 was easier, so I made a little bit less, and volume 12 is a lot harder, so I made more. It's always kind of a base amount, unless I beg for a raise, which doesn't happen much. But, and it depends how much you get paid per book. I mean, like, I'm only talking from my own experience, of course, but sometimes it's more money if it's a harder book. Sometimes it's more money if it's going to be a popular series.
Ooh, okay. So that factors in.
That's what, I mean, that's my experience. I don't want to say that's the absolute truth, but I've gotten pretty good pay on some easier series, but it's kind of one of those, well, this one's going to sell well. So that's how I believe it to be. I don't want to say that's the definite.
I mean, you mentioned earlier that things were a certain way when you were doing World Trigger in Weekly Jump. Has the process changed at all since it switched to the monthly Jump Square chapters?
It's a lot more chaotic now. With the weekly chapters, we all know, Viz is going to release those chapters on a Sunday. And I will get the files on this day, and it's always this day I'll get these files. So I have definitely this much time. With the monthlies, the magazine comes out, I think it's the 3rd of every month. And we get the files at ?
Oh dear.
So it makes it really difficult to kind of plan. So the last maybe 3 or 4 days of any month, I just have to be on guard.
I can imagine it can be especially difficult if, like, you don't know whether Ashihara is going to pump out 2 chapters, 1 or none.
Yeah, it's difficult, and there have been times. There was one month when he was taking the month off, and I had no idea. So I'm just like sitting there, like, where are the chapters? Where are the chapters? You know, like the 30th passes, the 31st passes, the first passes, and I'm like, oh no, we're not going to be able to get it done. And I contacted, my editor, and they're like, oh no, there's no chapter this month. Oh, okay.
Would have been nice to know, yeah.
Yeah, I think they just forgot to tell me. Now I do get a heads up. Hey, as far as we know, there's 1 chapter this month. Hey, as far as we know, there's no chapters this month. Yada yada. So.
Okay.
So speaking of, like, chaotic things, as an insider, I was wondering if you know what was up with Volume 7 when it got, like, 3 translators for the volume.
If I remember right, Lillian was pregnant, so she was out on maternity leave, I believe, so they had to get some fill-ins.
Ah.
I believe that's the case. She couldn't work for a little bit, and yeah, fill-ins.
I see. That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got one more question. If Noctis and his trusty anime boy band of companions, as I've designated them, from Final Fantasy XV were a border squad, which triggers would each of them use?
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like, oh man, and I've thought about this before. Well, obviously, Prompto would be a gunner. He'd be a good sniper too, but I think he'd be a gunner. Noctis would be an attacker. Probably a Scorpion. Oh, I don't know. I feel like maybe Gladio would be like a Reiji style all-rounder.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Ignis though.
I could see Ignis as like a sniper, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Who would be the operator? Who would wear the miniskirt?
Cindy. Or Iris would be good too. She's young. I'm not saying she'd be good in a miniskirt, but she might be a good operator. But I think Cindy would be a good operator, and she wouldn't take any talk back from those boys.
I think I've got one more. So you regularly drew Osamu as a spider person. Then on a suggestion, you drew Yuma as a grasshopper. What would you draw Chika and Jin as? What kind of insect or arachnid?
Chika. Like, my initial thought would be a ladybug. I don't know, just because of her hair. But I feel like it'd be some sort of bug that looks really cute and will just, like, mess you up. So I'm not really sure.
I know it's not a bug, but I was thinking pistol shrimp. But
yeah, I was thinking. I was like, well, it's not a bug or anything. But like, I was thinking a mantis. What is it? Peacock mantis shrimp, which is maybe the same as a pistol shrimp. Anyway, powerful shrimps, and she's kind of shrimpy.
Yeah, even if in this volume, I think somebody calls them shrimps.
Yeah.
And what about Jin?
For Jin, though.
Is there some sort of bug that can predict the future? Or is there some sort of bug that is a closeted stoner?
Oh, there's got to be some bug that can, like, sense vibrations in the air from, like, a bajillion miles off.
Bailout is when prey leaves their Treon bodies, man.
I fucking love that moment.
Yeah, man, I don't. Maybe some sort of beetle.
I was thinking Hercules beetle, but no, that would fit Composed Beefcake more, maybe. I don't know. We also got some questions from Twitter and Reddit.
Okay.
So first of all, you kind of answered this already, but Lom Ramayasha of the Manga Mavericks asks favorite part to letter in these volumes, most interesting, challenging retouch. So how about from this volume specifically? What do you remember?
Let me see. I would say the most challenging in this volume is there's a page. It's page 54 in this volume, where Osamu is, he's in the hospital and he's having these flashbacks, and it's just a whole page of flashbacks. It's not hard to do pages like this, but it's incredibly tedious. And it takes forever to find the pages from the previous volumes, to copy it, to paste it. This one, if you look at the page, it's everything's kind of at an angle, and
yeah, I can see it's all slanted.
Yeah, it's a very boring page to work on, and that's why it's, I'd say, the hardest in this volume.
Yeah, like you wouldn't cut and paste the whole panels. It's probably pay more to like re-letter it. Yeah, that was really interesting. It's like saves up on work for Ashihara, but not for you.
Yeah, and anytime, in my opinion, anytime a series has a flashback, just imagine me groaning.
Aww.
Black Clover has a lot of flashbacks, and it's just, I don't always have to go find them myself. A lot of translators will actually tell me where they are. But then it still takes a while. Okay, I gotta go find my files for volume 7, page 26, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I can imagine it being really tedious.
Never delete anything.
Yeah. I've had issues in the past thinking of deleting stuff. I did one volume, goodness, probably 11, 12 years ago, where the editor, after I did all the initial work, the editor didn't like the sound effects. Not necessarily my job on the sound effects, she just didn't think that they were the right sound effects anymore. So she had me change like 70% of the sound effects in this book.
Oh, jeez.
And then she decided that she liked the first ones better.
Wow.
And I had deleted all the first ones.
Oh.
On the good side,
no.
you only make that mistake once. So now whenever somebody's like, instead of blam blam, let's do kaboom here, I always just turn off the blam layer and make another one, just in case.
Yeah, that sounds like a rough break.
It was very unfortunate.
Now I'm kind of wondering, I've got another question. How many Google Drives do you have?
I only have one, but I have 6 external hard drives. Yeah, I'm only using one at the time, but yeah, I think I have 6 with really old files on them.
I'm one of those people who make up a new email address every time they're out of space.
I mean, I do have to admit, I do pay Google like the $3 a month or something, because I never delete my emails, because there's a lot of work emails in there, and I just want to make sure I have, them saved. And so Google's like, we can't give you more than 15 gigs of email space. And I was just like, fine, I'll pay you guys.
Oh, jeez.
It's okay, it's a work expense.
Okay, so we have a question from Corito Prime from the WMR server. When is the next volume of his favorite coming out?
Oh, goodness. His favorite comes out very slowly in Japan. So volume 11 came out in October. I don't know if volume 12 exists yet, so let's say in a year. It'll come out in a year.
There you go. You have your answer now. Another question from Corito. Now that Figure Rise Amplified... this is all for you. Now that Figure Rise Amplified had done kits for Omnimon, Imperial Dramon, and Gallantmon, who do you think will be the next Digimon to get a model kit?
I don't know who would be the next one that will actually get it, but the character I want to get one, which he won't, is Merukimon, who's this like ugly guy with like a wolf head, and the wolf head is like teal. It's a terrible color combination. He's real ugly. He would make a terrible model, but I love him.
Fuck, I want to see that.
Send you guys a picture.
I wanted to try, but I was never into Digimon at any point in my life, so that's a journey I have yet to take.
Do you see he's kind of ugly?
Oh.
He'd make a terrible figure. or a terrible model.
He kind of looks like a green werewolf Frankie. It's like Frankie had a Halloween costume and for some reason was colorblind. I love him. He's my baby.
Yeah, there's just one day I'm gonna cosplay him. One day in his ugly green like hair stuff. Oh god. Oh, he looks terrible. I love him.
Yes, please, please. The world needs those pictures.
I remember Omnimon and Imperial Dramon. I don't know which one Gallantmon is.
And another question from Corito Prime: Chainsaw Man versus Devil Man. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. Which one Ace likes better, or
Who would win?
who would win? I suppose.
I think probably Chainsaw Man would win. I think that would be my opinion. I think it'd be a pretty epic battle, though.
They're both very apocalyptic figures, so it's really hard to say.
Yeah, maybe they could just like hang out and just eat like hamburgers and stuff together.
Oh my god! And they would take Benny for another amusement park date or something.
There we go.
Final question from Taido Inukai on Reddit. Do you ever get nervous that you'll place the wrong dialogue in the wrong place? I can sometimes have trouble telling who is talking in a manga.
I don't generally have trouble. I could read a tiny bit of Japanese, like just enough to get the gist of what people are saying. And because I have Japanese, either a PDF or a tankobon to reference, I can usually match the lines. So if the speech bubbles are in a confusing order, usually I can use that to kind of match, okay, in Japanese this is saying something about chicken nuggets. Okay, what line says chicken nuggets? Okay. So I don't usually have trouble with the dialogue. Sometimes the sound effects I do have trouble with, though. Especially if there's a lot of, like, explosions on the same panel, it's kind of like, which explosion sound effect goes where?
Right.
This is kind of tied to what I kind of want to ask. Who's basically in charge of the decision of what the sound effect translates to?
I think it varies. But I'd say for the most part, it's the translator. There are style sheets where sometimes the translator will put like, okay, anytime you see this sound effect, this is what we translate it to, just to keep things consistent.
Okay.
I somehow came up with another question. I was worried that we wouldn't have enough, and well, we've gone over 40 minutes now. This is kind of tied to what you said. How much Japanese do you usually have to know? How much is it required in the industry as a letterer?
I don't think it's actually required for a letterer. I think it's very helpful, though.
Okay.
If you can follow the flow of the story and kind of the action, you probably don't need to know any, but I do find it very useful to know. I'd say I have maybe a preschool level. That might be generous. and I do find it very helpful. Not necessary, just recommended, perhaps.
Okay, thank you. It was quite amazing finding everything out straight from the Ace's mouth. Hoven, do you have anything else you want to go over, or shall we get to the summary?
Let's go to the summary.
Let's go summary.
All right, then. Okay, Hoven, you begin.
Osamu continues his desperate beeline for Border HQ with Hyrain and Moira in hot pursuit. I'll gather me remain in Trion. It's me duty to stop the carrier, Moira says before skewering Osamu's leg and torso with her small widows. With Hyrain closing the distance, it looks like the end of the line. But then, Replica prompts Osamu to throw him. Cut to a flashback of the two of them strategizing earlier in the battle. Replica explains that if they interface with the neighbor's system on board Apto's ship, they could override it instantly. Hyrain realizes Osamu's true target at this point, but he's met with a volley of fire from the trainee snipers up on the roof, led by Yoneya. He clocks on that this is a diversion to distract him from Yuma and prepares to dodge him, but is met with a series of Fujin slashes from Miwa, tearing through him. As he's processing this, the bolt attack Yuma fired off at the end of last volume hits with full force, utterly ripping up his Trion body to shreds. Having been given the opening, Osamu yeets Replica with all his might into Moira's portal. The chaperone connects to the control panel, instantly infiltrates the ship, and issues an irreversible return home command, leaving the intruders with 60 seconds until launch. Hyrain snatches up the cube in Osamu's grasp, but then realises it's not the cubified Chika. It's merely a simple Triumph cube, which he realises Osamu switched out with it during his failed asteroid attack on him. With no time to search for the real one, Moira and Hyrain decide to retreat, mentioning that she'll move the ship's gates to recover Visa and, more crucially, that they'll be leaving Hughes behind as planned. Right before the portal closes, Replica states that this is goodbye and asks that Osamu take care of Yuma. The mini-replicas vanish, as well as the lightning-like energy parting the clouds.
Aww.
The other agents register the clear skies as Osamu, bleeding out on the floor, passes out. He's found by Yonaya and Izuho, and we learn Osamu gave Izuho Chika's location in order to find and retrieve her. They provide first aid and take him to the HQ's medical facilities. The tide of the battle at large is starting to turn with the arrival of Arashiyama Squad and the Ara Ara spearheaded Kako Squad, with the titular captain, Nozomi Kako, and her younger, more solemn teammate, Futaba Kuroe. Hearing the news, Jin lies down in relief mid-fight, assured that the day is saved and that Osamu will not die. When pressed by the understandably confused Hughes, he suggests that the swooshy-haired neighbour surrender peacefully, assuring him that he'll be treated well. Cut to the Afterglow invaders reflecting on their battle on the ship. Hyrain notes to himself that the suspicion that there was a master manipulator of sorts on the other side influencing the course of the battle. The crew regret their inability to abduct Chika, but he seems satisfied with how they left Inadora and Hughes. Back in Mikado, various agents report back to the higher-ups. The collateral damage is high and a significant number of trainees were captured. However, Jin assures Kido that this was the third or second best case scenario. No A rank or B rank agents were kidnapped. With a tally of all deaths and losses for all parties, the battle is officially over. The rescue efforts are aided by the recently arrived Karasawa, who even goes so far as to pitch in helping people left the rubble. Apparently, he played rugby in school. Various Tamakoma members visit the recovering but unconscious Osamu, though Yuma has left, apparently out looking for Replica. The recovering but unconscious Osamu, though Yuma has left apparently, out looking for Replica. Reiji remarks that they still have a few days before their world and Afterkrator drift out of range. We focus on Osamu's thought process as he sleeps, flashing back to his last meet with Rinji. Rinji seems to have made a deal with some unknown collaborators to acquire a border trigger and to go and see what lies beyond the neighbor return gate they've located. It's also implied that they might want to destroy it, but Rinji is somewhat vague about this. When Osamu presses him to join the mission, Rinji decides to give him a fake departure date, as Osamu later discovers his disappearance 2 days early from some mysterious border agents we've not seen before in suits. Chika bursts into tears upon hearing this, something Osamu's never seen her do before. We see him struggle with the aptitude test to become a border agent due to his lack of ability to wield a trigger, and learn that the encounter with Jin and the Bamster in Chapter 1 took place after Osamu attempted to break into HQ in an attempt to talk his way in. Osamu wakes up in a hospital bed and is greeted by the sight of Chika sleeping on the shoulder of an incredibly eerie-looking woman, his mother. Ace?
Oh, I don't know if I can follow that up
I
well.
got a very dense set of chapters, so if it's not as long, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry.
Well, no, it just won't be nearly as good.
I'm sure it's going to be terrific either way. Just hearing it from you, it will be great.
All right, we open up and Osamu sees his mom, who looks incredibly young. She is very surprisingly youthful, and she comments on her favorite ship of the series, which is Osamu and Chika, and she's quite upset that Chika didn't cry for Osamu. You know, clearly they're not close enough. She mentions that a lot of people visit him.
Why aren't you married yet?
You're 15. Come on. Someone's like, "Whoa, Mom, please." She talks about all the people that have come to visit him, you know, executives from Border, some folks from Arashiyama Squad, a younger girl, a younger boy. Oh no, it's Kazuma. Poor Kazuma. Always being assumed to be so young.
I like Ashihara noting that someday he's going to just turn into Yotaro, because he keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Yes! Chika wakes up, says that Kuga, hasn't come by, but he'll come by soon. Usami comes in completely sleep deprived because she's just been working pulling all-nighters, but she says that they've given out rewards for distinguished service. There's a special distinguished service award that Miwa, Tachikawa, and Amo have gotten, along with Kuga. And then the outstanding distinguished service award, our boy Osamu has gotten, because he's just that great. Along with Azuma, Izumi, Yonaya, Midorikawa, and all of Kazuma Squad, Jin, Konami, and all of Arashiyama Squad. And then there are some other smaller service rewards. Yuma comes in, and they go to the roof, and Osamu's very upset about basically losing Replica.
Aww.
And Yuma's like, no, Replica did just what I asked him to do. He's, he did his job. He's my partner. I trust him. And Osamu, my boy, cries. But it's because of the injuries, okay? It's not because he's sad.
It's raining. It's not raining.
It's raining. The rain hides the tears.
Man, the fucking the onions from the kitchen, they're so overpowering. They're not cooking at the moment.
Shut up. You have a triune body. You wouldn't know.
Karasawa comes and he's like, hey, let's go for a walk. And so they all meet up. So Yuma, Karasawa, Chika, and Osamu's mom, along with Osamu, of course, they drive to a press conference where they're talking about the losses they incurred during the invasion, and how, although a lot of people were kidnapped, I think they lost 32 C-rank trainees, 6 people died. In comparison to the first invasion, it's so much better. I think they said it was 8 times the size of the first invasion and only 1/40th of the casualties, which, that's pretty impressive to me. The reporters are very relentless, though, and one talks about how, did they know that agents could bail out because a trainee bailed out last month? And so maybe they got that information. And they, of course, are referring to Osamu. And Karasawa's like, yeah, that's Netsuki planted that reporter to kind of put all the blame on you. And Osamu's like, oh, God. But then he decides, you know what? I'm so cool. I'm the best. He doesn't actually decide that. I just decided that for him. He decides that he's going to speak his mind. So he goes out. And he takes responsibility for what he did. But he also says that even though maybe it wasn't the best answer in the long run, I guess, it's something that he would do again because he's going to save the people in front of him. He gets a lot of pushback from that. And he says, I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm not a hero. I can't do the kind of thing where everyone is pleased with the results. I can only do what I think I should do in a way that I won't regret later. And he gets a lot more pushback, and he says, listen, I'm going to go get them back. And it's at this point revealed that knows that they've been doing these away missions. So this is kind of revealing the fact, and Kido plays it off like, yeah, this is something we've been, thinking about doing. So the press conference ends, and Osamu's like, all right, I'm tired. And then they start the B-rank border wars.
So, sometime later, Rindo visits Osamu's team in the hospital to tell them Chika will be promoted to B rank by taking Yuma and Osamu's award points. And everyone knows she's targeted, so basically Kinuta wanted her to have the option to bail out. The question is how? Come January, it's time for the start of the rank wars. Shokugeki no Yuma. So only Yuma and Chika are participating this round as Osamu is still recovering from his injuries. Before Osamu goes off to record his podcast about it, however, Kido approaches him to confront him on his feelings about the press conference. Basically, Osamu kind of doesn't forgive him, but says, yeah, it was another way to fight it. It was another way to execute your plan. I understand that, but if you do the same to Yuma and Chika, I won't forgive you. He also informs... So So Kido also informs him that Rinto and Shinoda won't let in on the plan. So the match begins, and Sakurako goes, "Welcome, welcome, welcome, welcome to you all to the Rank War Diaries." And then she lets Satori explain the rules of the competition. "Ho ho ho! So we do 3 or 4 ranked team battles within groups. It's a free-for-all in which every team is scrambling to earn points. Earning points is very simple. You get a point for defeating someone on a different squad. You get 2 points for surviving to the end. That's it. Earn points, work your way up, and launch your team into a higher group. The top 2 B-rank teams earn a seat in an A-rank challenge match." The Shrimp team have no trouble breezing through the match, Yuma demonstrating his expert acrobatics, and Chika her powerful cannon fire. So earning 8 points, Tanakoma 2 advances to the mid-tier B ranks and prepares for a match with Suwa and Arafune squads. So, post-match, Jin is surprised to see Kurosawa again, watching, but as the latter says,
I played rugby in college.
Jin immediately understands that the finance director finds Osama an interesting resource, since after his speech, the number of applicants and sponsors has increased, even if it was dwindling after the invasion. So Kurosawa encourages Jin to brighten up and support his juniors. And then Jin says I'm not as quick to move on, but Kurosawa's like,
"Yeah, I used to play rugby after all."
Sure. Back at Tamakoma, the senior team lecture the juniors not to underestimate the next opponents. Composed Beefcake advises them to look over the logs, which Suwa and Arafune also do. Suwa plans on a Sasomori suicide attack to take out Yuma, but he's a bit too distracted by the height difference between Chika and her mentor. Smart Beefcake, as Osana calls him. So Mikumo's squad analyzes the formations of their opponents, but they have the most important decision to make. As the lowest ranked squad in the match, they get to pick the stage. So as the match begins, it turns out they pick a Cityscape Slope, a match which favors snipers, as Azuma, the sniper Ace picked for commentary, notices. The all-sniper Arafune squad is overjoyed. The no-sniper Suwa squad is novajoyed. Team Mikumo is teleported onto the battlefield in the new sleek matching uniforms. The snipers activate the bagworms, that is the cape triggers that hide them on the radar, and head uphill while the 2 mixed teams prioritize meeting up. Osama decides to have Chika shoot at the snipers, seemingly pointlessly, as she can't aim well from below, while she reveals her position. However, it turns out to be a strategy to gain Suwa's alliance by providing cover fire for his unit. While Arafune is busy dealing with Suwa, Tamakoma 2 prepare to sneak up on them both. And then the volume ends, in a pretty anticlimactic note.
Yeah.
Not sure what to do with that. Shall we get to the general thoughts?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've been making the comparisons about how neatly we've had volumes end, and this definitely, if the last volume didn't, this fully breaks our streak of volumes ending in a nice neat point. From here on, it's just however the chapters happen to be bunched.
Yeah, we should kind of expect that Ashihara doesn't really concern himself with the pace of the volume, but rather looks at the arcs holistically. I'd say that this volume is a phenomenal end to one story arc, though, and a great build-up to the next one, but together, as a transitionary volume, I would, however, call it super so-so, as Konami would put it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in this volume. It's like we have the absolute final climax of the invasion. We get this really pivotal stuff for Osamu, and then we get like the establishment of the basics of the B rank wars going forward. So it's definitely it's a very dense one.
How did you enjoy Ace?
Oh, I adore this volume because there's just so much good Osamu content in it. The press conference is just, I think it just really establishes the type of character Osamu is, which obviously, I think he's the best, so I'm all for that. It is kind of, as a volume, it is kind of weird, like you guys said, because it's like the end of one huge arc, and then this middle ground, and then it just kind of starts the rank wars, which I have to say, like, I realized it, but I didn't realize it. How long the rank wars have been going on? Oh yeah, they started in volume 10. And granted, other stuff has happened, but you know, the rank wars have been going on for what? I think 11 volumes, 12 volumes?
It's really long, but apparently not as long as it could have been, since like from the table that Rindo gives, it seems like there should be like 9 rounds of rank wars in a year, whereas the manga had only 8 take place. Yeah. So I'm kind of wondering if there was like some editorial nudge to could you maybe give this a little push?
Please.
Okay, Did Rindo mention that it was 9 in this volume, or?
In this one. I think he mentioned it. There's like 3 months a year in which the rank wars have a break, but usually it's like in 3 groups of 3.
Okay, right. Because I think going into this, I have a bit of a nuclear hot take that I've been storing, but since it's kind of relevant, I might as well let it off here. I think possibly my least favourite creative decision from Ashihara is how they introduce the rank wars, because it's very vague how long we'll be in here for, and we're not given a clear, for the first few matches, we're not given a very good sense of what timescale we're working on how much more we're going to be doing of this. I completely missed that line from Rindo, and even knowing it, it's still a bit vague because it's like 9 matches. That sounds like it's going to be a lot. So 9 rounds even, because it's not even 9 matches. Because sometimes we see. I'm getting ahead of myself for spoiler stuff, but it's like a lot of people I know were super into the invasion arc because of how high stakes it was and how it really opened up the world. And to go into this long stretch of sparring matches with so little grounding, they really struggled with that. And I will say, I have come to love the rank wars, obviously. Like, I really like it as an arc now, and I think every single fight in it is narratively worthwhile in some way. But I think he kind of throws you in the deep end.
It's just a lot. Oh, I was going to say, I agree. It really does throw you in the deep end, and that's a really good point that they kind of, okay, we're going to be doing this for a while. Well, how long is a while? You'll see.
It doesn't really help that perhaps the first 2 fights, like the first one, I know it's supposed to establish how Yuma and Chika are as a team, how powerful they are, and generally speed us up to the mid tier. But for the second fight, I would say it's not very inviting because, please don't kill me, Arafune's squad is not very interesting until we learn Arafune's deal, and that's a bit in. And Sewer Squad is very fun in the dynamic, but doesn't have a whole gimmick going for them. I love them in the previous arc, and it's great seeing them again, but I don't know if I would call them the perfect squad to start the rank wars from.
I actually, to be on the more positive side, I'm actually a bit more charitable with regards to the squad pickings in this match. The reasons for this is, it's nice to have them going up against 2 teams that performed pretty well in the last arc, but weren't outstanding. So it's like, this is a challenge, but it's that we're not starting up with the top leagues. And also, the Sewer Squad is clearly work more on the fly, whereas Arafune squad are much more considered, and you get that contrast in those sorts of opponents, and it's a nice example of how their team layouts reflect that, because Sewer Squad is this mix of short-range gunners and attackers, that sort of on-the-fly, just sort of see how we go in the match sort of mindset. It's very conducive to them, whereas Arafune, because they're snipers, they can't afford to be too reckless. They need to be really careful. Yeah, and I also think starting off, because Tamakoma aren't at a stage where they can try for aggressive point-seeking, I like that they're starting off with the utilization of a map that puts a big target on one of their 2 enemies.
Yeah, I really like that this, well, it might not be the most exciting match that they're getting into. I like that it shows already that they're playing strategically. Like they seem to have, fully planned this. We're going to make this alliance, this unsaid alliance, just by our actions and our choice in cityscapes.
Yeah.
I do think, I like both Arafune and Sua Squad. Sua Squad to me is kind of the epitome of B rank. I like the characters. There's nothing really special about them, but they're really enjoyable characters. They're not super powerful. They aren't super, strategic, and they're not bad at any of those things. They're quite skilled, but they're just, they're good. They're not great at anything, in my opinion. And whenever I think of B Squad, or a B ranked squad, I think of Sua.
If I had to give a criticism, I would perhaps think that you should maybe place a bit more emphasis on the fact that Sasomori is one of the few people in B rank who actually use Chameleon and who actually use stealth battles. But yeah, apart from that dynamic is pretty fun.
But yeah. But no, like Ace said, this volume is the introduction of seeing the other team's strategy meetings, which is a recurring feature, and it ties into the general theme of World Trigger's battles of it all being very dependent on what people know and what they learn. And now that Osamu and Yuma don't have Replica, it means that the B rank wars will force them to grow in this regard. You even have Reiji encouraging the team to research themselves, so he's not going to hold their hands the whole way through.
Knowledge is power.
Honestly, between Kurosawa's inexplicable recurring rugby gag, then Konami designating everyone's strength as kind of so-so, mostly so-so, and super so-so. And then Osama's mom's fucking thirst for blood, her wanting to beat reporters with a stick. She's quite amusing. This is probably the funniest volume of the bunch, though.
No, on my watch through on the anime, I legitimately, because I didn't remember the series that well, I thought Osamu's mum was an illusion or something. He was hallucinating his dead mum. I'm like, oh, because of how just odd how she greets him is.
Yeah, and how she interacted with all the characters. Chica's resting on a shoulder. Oh wait, okay.
Chica's a ghost too.
Whoa.
She's just a poltergeist, and that's why everything's blown up. She's just really powerful.
I guess to go back to the beginning of this volume, I mentioned how now they have that void of Replica not being there, and I really love that strategy, that Replica has such a cool strategy before they go.
So cool.
It really sells how much of a void it is. That whole thing of Osamu was never going to aim for the base to begin with. Yeah. Just everything in the first chapter as well, just everything coming together with the snipers, with Miwa, Yuma. It's just this constant domino effect that continues to just pay off, and it's great.
Yeah.
I will say that this volume cover is supposed to be a Replica feature, and I think that's very sweet.
Yeah. I miss Replica so much.
Osama and Replica's combined efforts, combined planning, protected Chica by sending the Afto ship away and swapping her cube. I'm really happy that Osama also got a moment there to contribute to the scheme, and it worked only because High Rain got careless and involved Moira in the battle itself, and because they were so desperate to capture the Golden Goose.
I like in the first chapter as well. World Trigger's a series where half the time I forget that they're in Tryon bodies. So somebody will get their heads cut off and I'm like, oh wait, okay, yeah. But in this one, Osamu actually gets impaled several times. Every time I read this chapter, I go, oh, it's cool. He's in his, oh no, he's not. And I know he's gonna be okay because obviously he's gonna be okay, but yeah, it just always shocks me. Wait a second.
Yeah, it's one of those instances where it is the typical anime injury of that. They're kind of bleeding out the mouth, big puddle on the floor. Any other anime, this would be oh, okay, they got beaten up a bit. In any other manga, in this, it's it really throws you.
Yeah,
you just don't see injured characters in this series.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's like a surprisingly bloodless series for a battle manga.
Speaking of the lack of blood, like we already knew how much of a burden Jin has to face with his side effect, but it still hits hard, just as hard from him and for the reader with those 6 deaths in communication.
One thing I'm a little confused about. With Osamu attacking Hyrain, how did that allow him to switch out the cubes? Because wouldn't that draw attention to him, if anything? Like, did he fire off one of the cubes and intentionally miss? So yeah, like how did he switch out Chika's cube at that moment? Because he knew where to send Chikako, so it seemed like he placed it somewhere.
That allowed him to get a cube. You know what? I was really confused about that as well. I originally thought that oh cool, like he took both cubes somehow and maybe swapped them out and hit Chika in one of the empty houses that they ran through with Replica, but I'm still not really sure how that happened. If the swap happened really early on, then I don't know.
It's one of those where, like, the strategy on paper, like, makes a lot of sense, but it's, like, the way it's communicated of Hyrain being like, oh, he did it when he fired at me, that slightly confuses me. I'm not quite sure.
I'm gonna guess, yeah, because he did his attack. He just kind of, like, I guess, grabbed one of those cubes and dropped Chika down. Yeah, I'm not 100% on that one.
Yonia stepping forward to instruct the trainees is a really nice touch. It reminds us of his A-rank status, and that he probably takes to that sort of thing a lot more naturally than his captain.
Do you guys know that meme picture of somebody riding a bike and then they like stick a stick in their own spokes and they fall over?
Yes.
I have a version of that somebody drew, God, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it's Miwa. And he sticks his trigger in the spokes and he's just like I won't swear on the podcast, but he's just like, neighbors! That's what I think of. I've had it on my desktop, like I said, for like 5 or 6 years, and I love Miwa, but every time I think about him, I think about that meme.
Bless racist Zuko. It's quite intriguing as the inner conflict with Aftercrator surfers just at the end of the arc, especially once we find out the primary goal of the mission was indeed to get Enidora and Hughes. Sorry, I keep pronouncing it.
I mean, it looks like it should be Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You know why I keep confusing it? It's because Rindo looks like Hughes, and I want to keep calling him Hughes, so I kind of want to differentiate that.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see that. I feel really dumb, but like rereading this volume and seeing Jin and Hughes battle, I was just like, oh, that's right. He's from Afto. That's like somehow, like, I didn't forget he was a neighbor, but like, I guess it just completely skipped my mind. Yeah, of course he, has horns and stuff. No, there's no connection to the previous villains. No.
So speaking of forgetting, I completely forgot about the C-rank snipers cover fire for Miwa. I love these collective effort kind of moments, and this was really nice, but for some reason it escaped my memory.
I forgot that Izuho had Battle Cat on her head. I love that cat.
Evil Kitty from Eftokrator.
Yeah. What's gonna happen with this cat? We haven't seen Battle Cat in a while.
See, we had our usual segment of HOVIN forgot, but I guess this time it's Ace forgot. To go back to the Hughes and Enidora thing, this volume, because it leaves Hughes in a very interesting place, obviously. Abandoning Enidora seems a lot more understandable at this stage, because he was pretty crazy and really a liability to the team, but we're still not sure why they left Hughes, because he doesn't seem as off-kilter.
Yeah, when they're like, all right, we got our, 2 of our objectives, our original objectives have been met. It's kind of like, wait, what? Excuse you, what? Hyrain, come back here and explain yourself.
For my standout panels for this volume, first of all, of course, I love Replica's This Is Goodbye. I thought it was really touching in how it was presented as well. I love the empty city as After leaves and the sky clearing. We've mentioned like this volume has a lot of noise, a lot of sound effects, and this kind of dissipating and peace coming about is really striking, I thought. As for more chaos, another standout panel was in the flashback when the Bamster appears in Osamu's flashback. It was really like a multitude of sound effects creating an overwhelming atmosphere, and I thought it was really effective there. Great job on that front, Ace.
I totally agree. I want to say something about that page. It really, I think it does a good job of kind of building up. I really like how Ashihara has, like the angles of things are a little weird, so you don't fully see the Bamster, then you see it really close, and there are sound effects overlapping other sound effects, and it really, I think, brings kind of a sense of panic.
Yes.
Like, oh no, I'm gonna die. And I think that does a really good job of like just that fear building up and like, oh no, and then Jin comes in.
The last standout panel of mine is really also props to Ashihara and props to you. Chika firing at Arafune while the boom sound effect circles the explosion border. It was very eye-pleasing composition.
We touched on Osamu's unconscious flashback. The placement of this flashback it's given me a lot of food for thought. We've brought up at various times on this podcast the pros and cons of Ashihara's very naturalistic, let things occur as they do approach to story progression. And this flashback being here as opposed to earlier in the series is another one where I weigh that up. Because on the one hand, this is a really good volume for grounding Osamu. We really get a sense of where he is going forward. But on the other hand, having this flashback earlier on, it could have had more impact in terms of what was going on in the Afto invasion, because I noticed this parallel of Osamu attempting to break into the HQ to get recruited and his breaking in during the battle, both times during for the benefit of Chika. And it could have been really, really strongly conveyed if this flashback had been at some point before the battle, and we'd been able to kind of call back to it, and it had been a parallel. So yeah, I'm very much of two minds on it being here and how that affects the narrative.
It's an interesting perspective, yeah. This volume really needed a break to accentuate the sinking in of the loss of Replica and the actual action and everything having to resolve earlier on. So I thought the flashback really worked great on that front, and especially how it's tied to the evolution of the theme of I'm not a hero. I just don't want to regret something for the rest of my life. If I wait for things to happen, I won't ever do anything. If I wait for myself to be in the right place to get stronger, I won't ever accomplish anything I want to do. The flashback and the subsequent press conference made me think about the theme of heroism in the series, and I don't really have an exact conclusion for this, but I wanted to keep this in mind for the future. Kurosawa, and to a lesser extent Usami, think of Osamu as a hero, while he doesn't see himself as such because he can't deliver results that will satisfy everyone. It made me think of who Osamu looks up to, like Renji, like Jin and Yuma, who have made their own mistakes that cost them a lot, and how even Jin now is in a depressive slump for leading the turn of events to this scenario.
Yeah.
I think another thing I got from the Osamu development in this volume is this recurring thing of him having this passion and this drive there, but constantly reverting to his more passive, more head down kind of state. He did that in his flashback. Once he became he was desperate enough to try and break into the base, but once he became a trainee, he reverted back to his old self as we saw him at the start of the series. And then we see this in the present day when Osamu is breaking down in front of Yuma, and Yuma snaps him out of it. Just as Yuma did at the start of the series.
Yeah, I think Osamu's the type of character who, I think passive is a good way to describe him until the going gets tough. I mean, because, the first chapter, you see him, taking all this, bullying and whatnot. But then he stands up, for Yuma, and he, then he tries to protect him even though he knows he's weak. I don't know where I'm getting at with that.
No. It makes sense, and also I wanted to add to that this is like another expression of Ashihara's naturalistic storytelling, how this regression makes sense for his character. Once he accomplishes something, he kind of decompresses and rests on his laurels for a while. I think it makes sense for his character.
I have some random observations. I really like that the lowest ranked team picks the difficulty, because it's a way of allowing more leg ups to newer teams in universe, and it adds to the difficulty curve if Tamakoma do advance over the course of things, because if they rank up, they won't be able to pick the stages, so they won't have that advantage. We briefly touched on the volume covers. This is the first instance of repeated characters. That's an interesting milestone.
I just want to say, I love, it's page 138. It's in the middle of Tamakoma 2's first match. And Sakurako's like, oh yeah, hey Osamu, your people have a numbers disadvantage. Do you think, how's it going to be? And he just says, like, totally, I read it, at least deadpan, like, oh, I think they'll be fine. And it's just like 3-4 pages of just devastation. But he's just like, yeah, they're fine. It's cool.
And it's just his nonchalant expression. It's brilliant.
Like, he's like, yep, that's my team. They're amazing. He has every faith in them.
I found the tears on Chika in the flashback a little too cartoonish. Like, it's a really good scene for her, but the way the tears are drawn, they're a bit too sort of cartoonishly blobbish. Though, weirdly, when Osamu has his breakdown in front of Yuma, those looked all right. So yeah, the anime kind of painted over this problem.
I actually wonder what Horikoshi and Ashihara are doing with this, because Horikoshi did the same for Tsuyu when like the team that went to rescue Bakugo came back. She also had these kind of tears.
Big old Ghibli tears. Yeah. There is a character in a couple of volumes that has also big old gloopy tears.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but it's definitely it's one of the current editor's favorite characters, and they hate it when I send them those pictures. So whenever I'm upset, I send them the picture.
Well, this is another case of Hovin forgot, so I'm looking forward to seeing who that is. We've got Kinuta going full Theresa May to remind the press conference that there is no magic money tree. A bit of an English politics, British politics reference there. You get the sense that Rindo and Shinoda just badgered Kido into visiting Osamu after the press conference, that he didn't actually want to go there, but they gave him so much grief that he was like, all right, fine, I'll go check on him.
I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but I adore Kido. I don't know why, but I love that man.
No, Kido, I find Kido very interesting, because he does have that prejudice against neighbours, but he's able to think with a level head very clearly on what is advantageous to their position, and he doesn't, unlike Miwa, he doesn't let that prejudice get in the way of that.
Yes.
I've seen a really good meme just now. It's one of those like faked phone conversations, and at the top the contact is Commander. He's like, no Treon soldiers allowed at the base, sorry. And then it's a picture of Replica, and he says, okay, I will make an exception because he looks very polite.
I love that description of Replica now. Okay, yeah, he's a very polite looking Treon soldier.
Yes. Okay. Other random observations. Rui is a really fun operator character. I like her little one-liners.
Osano is great. I also love. Did I mention how I like Sakurako? I wish she was a member of a different squad, one featured more often, perhaps. But I do like her enthusiasm for podcasting. I love how she's like, yeah, doing the play-by-play again. I somehow found time in my schedule.
And one other moment I really, really liked is just Shiori being a big A good older sisterly mentor figure to Chica in the strategy meeting, where Chica's not sure. She's like, "Oh, I'm not sure what I'm going to do in this situation." She's like, "And I will walk you through every step of the way."
Aww.
And she's like, "Yay!" It's a very sweet scene.
I love her kind of position as kind of like the bigger sister to them. It's very sweet, like you said. It's so great.
Both her and Reiji.
Yeah, very cute.
If that's all of our other random observations, shall we move to the Ashihara comments corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the Ashihara comments corner.
I do want to mention how much I love Karasawa.
It is a standout volume for him, yeah.
So at the back of this volume, the bonus character pages, I mean, his little thing is, loves rugby. He played rugby in school, blah, 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 blah. He was raising funds for an evil organization until 5 years ago, but playing rugby got him recruited by Border. Can we get some backstory on this?
Oh my god.
What?
That's amazing.
Also, so the characters that get profiles in this one are Kido, Karasawa, Netsuki, Osamu's mom, Osano, and Sakurako. In Netsuki's, it says, he went to the press conference perfectly prepared, but since he didn't play rugby in school, his plans were ruined by Mr. Karasawa and upstaged by Osamu. He would have been able to avoid this tragedy if he had only played rugby.
I'm loving how Ashihara loves this gag as much as we do.
Do you guys know that the stupid little Netsuki and what's his name?
Kinuta?
Kinuta, yeah, the thing about their names.
It's Tanuki and Kitsune, so a fox and a raccoon.
And I think that's so fun. Yeah, I love that.
It's amazing. I love the staff characters.
Osamu's mom, her little description here. Someone give her a stick. A mother of one who seems cool but is actually a close-range attacker. She made passionate passes on her husband in college and got married right after graduation. The Mikumo household is a standard nuclear family. The son participates in the rank wars, the father goes overseas to build bridges, and the mother goes down to the stream to do laundry. But then a handy stick came floating down the stream, so those reporters should make a run for it. She's 39 and from the same graduating class as Netsuki.
Oh, so that's why Osamu likes bridges.
Yeah, because Daddy makes them.
Oh.
Commander Kido. I was just gonna say, he's got a great character page, too. It goes, eyebrow slit. The organization's leader, whose facial scar is often forgotten by the manga artist. The best medical staff available tried to restore his lost eyebrow, but nothing could be done. He demonstrated that he was actually able to stand up in this volume, but he is more intimidating while seated. So now the rumor is that he will always appear while being carried around in his chair.
Do you know what's funny? When I read the manga for the first time, I thought he had like a noodle going down his forehead for some reason.
I love that.
Okay, so I had no idea that Kako's squad's third member was another trapper. I think it's like the second one we meet in Border so far, unless we count Osamu in the later parts of the rank wars.
Yeah, I think it's the second one.
I'm wondering if they appeared in the 2-page spread recently. I won't say which one, but yeah.
We got some more wonderful cubed sewer dunkage. Like the idea of the shooters using him. He probably doesn't use real cigarettes because he doesn't have an ashtray.
Yes. Just looks cool, okay?
Somebody suggests that a valid tactic against opponents using Chameleon is like shooting a guided hound bullet to pursue them, but Ashihara does cover his base, like saying they're easily blocked. And apparently there's a spy mode on the radar. I don't remember what that is. Wensleydale forgot.
It does. I don't remember exactly how it shows up, but I do think it's in a later rank war with Azuma.
Oh, I see. What does it show?
I think it. Don't quote me on this. I'm gonna take back my words because I'm not 100% sure, but I know they put up like. Well, I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
Let's just say I I'm eating my words. Hom nom nom.
I guess we'll leave that until spoiler corner.
Netsuki collecting border merch like the absolute corporate shill he is very fitting.
I interpreted that as him being a border weeb and kind of imagine him getting together with Miyoshi, Osamu's classmate, border-obsessed classmate that I voiced, and just squeeing over border merchandise.
They've got a secret little fan club. I like to think that he knows what kind of border merchandise he wants, and because he's the PR director, he kind of pushes for that.
That's very sneaky.
We got some questions from the voice actors of the main cast from the anime given to Ashihara here, and I don't really have anything to say on their comments, but I keep forgetting, Hovin forgot, that Yuki Kaji is Osamu, which is really funny to me, because it's like, I think of Osamu as kind of a relatively niche shonen protagonist, and then you have Yuki Kaji, who does loads of really high-profile roles, like Eren Yeager, Alibaba from Magi, what else? Meliodas from Seven Deadly Sins. Yeah.
Whenever somebody mentions Magi, I just think of the condiment that we have in Poland.
Oh, is there one called that?
It's kind of sort of a soy sauce, but not really. It's made from other vegetables. I forget which, but mostly know it's from, we add it to chicken soups and so on. Speaking of cooking, is Osamu's mum making her own bechamel sauce really that impressive? I mean, I can make it too, and I don't consider myself an experienced cook.
Don't break Osamu's heart. He thinks it's really impressive, so.
Aww.
This time on Binging with Osamu's Mum.
It's going to be a segment on our podcast when we just talk about our recipes. It's kind of like cooking with Elfman in that fairy tale podcast.
In that fairy tale podcast that I once listened to. No, I was thinking more along the lines of Binging with Babish, but instead of... He's a cooking channel I follow, for those who don't know. But with Babish, he always has this like very listenable, overarching commentary. Whereas I feel like with Osamu's mum, it would just be radio silence and then occasional kind of grumpy like retorts when I don't know she drops some pasta or something.
I'd watch it.
We find out that some of the border staff are not artsy but sportsy. We find out about Netsuki being a horse rider. This isn't something I expected. And Sawamura likes exercise, so maybe she would also play rugby in college. This is, yeah.
Border rugby team.
Border was created by jocks. One of Replica's many features is to be a poison tester, apparently.
Everybody needs a replica in their life.
just yeah... It would be a useful one for a D&D game. It would save you detect poison as a spell.
Yeah, or it could just go into my fridge and tell me, which ingredients have gone bad. So we get the second suggestion that Tsukimi was Tanjikawa's childhood friend. It's kind of it's Miwa's operator. It makes me wonder when we're gonna be in for some old border flashback.
I'm always interested to see more of the relationships between border members that we don't get to see in the present. Okay, shall we move into the spoiler corner?
Yes.
All right, so we do have a question reserved. One more question reserved for Ace. What are some of your favourite moments in the series?
Well, I mentioned earlier that early, I think Volume 3 or Volume 4, that moment with Osamu and his fight against Kazuma. That they're all Osamu moments, guys.
The Church of Osamu.
But yeah, that part, also the press conference, his whole like "I'm not a hero" speech, I think is just super great. There are a lot of moments later on, some recent moments where some stuff is revealed, and there's the picture of Raijin Maru, like, as a kaiju. Just this silly little drawing in the background, and I think about that more than anybody should think about anything.
It's okay. As a huge kaiju fan, I think about it a lot as well. So I mentioned how this volume is the first one with a recurring characters featured, and we get a Chica spotlight later on with Volume 22. So that does make me wonder, since Ashihara has established that the four... that he has those four mains, that we might be due in for more Jin focus in the future and a repeated cover for him.
That'd be cool.
It's weird how Kako Squad is introduced as an all-girls unit, given that, like, Kako later tries to recruit Yuma.
Maybe it's just that, like, they weren't aiming for an all-girls squad, it just sort of turned out that way.
Yeah. I feel like with Nasu, they were aiming for a girl squad, and for Kako, it's just the names.
Yeah. Have Ninomiya Squad ever acknowledged Osamu and Chika as being the kids that they informed of Renji's disappearance? I forget.
I don't know. I want to say maybe there was some implication between Osamu and Ninomiya.
Yeah.
But that could have been in my imagination.
Ashihara mentioned Speaking of Nasu Squad, Ashihara mentioned the original version of Kako's haircut should be saved for a later design, and honestly, I don't think it looks too far off from Kumagai. It's a similar kind of short, dark hair.
It is, yeah. So, given that Enidora is later revived, I wonder how antagonistic the relationship could be between the communications department and the engineering department of Border.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
If they ever found out. Which I guess they're probably bound to if like the Enidorad gets taken on the mission. In regards to Tamako Mitsu playing with the strategy of painting a target on one of the team's backs in this Suwa Arafune match. It's interesting that they're using this here where they don't have a clear-cut time limit on how they need to advance up the ranks. They're not desperate for points like there are later on, so they can afford to give a few more to Suwa Squad. That's I think that's an interesting contrast to the later fights in this arc.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
It's really well thought out. So about that spy mode on the radar, it's okay. You can make non-committal statements about it.
In the Azuma battle, the one that takes place in the big mall, I swear they put out like little spy things that were to confuse operators and maybe to look at the area. I'm digging through my files to see if I don't think I have that far back on my computer right now.
I know Chika was keeping track of where they were in the building from the outside, but that could have just been Shiori, so yeah.
Wasn't like Taiichi's suggestion as with the lights, or because they were doing they were picking the map at that point, right?
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking of something else. He was using his dummy, dummy markers to hide where they are on the radar, on the general radar. So yeah, I don't think that's a spy mode. Yeah, that's in chapter 174.
Oh, okay, I see. It's going to be interesting revisiting that later on anyway.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. We took care of our Q&As earlier on, so I suppose it's time to round off.
Let's do it.
So, that is going to do it for the 10th episode of Duckface Diaries. You can listen to us on so many podcast hosting sites: anchor.fm/Wensleydale Cheddar, youtube.com/C/Wensleydale Cheddar is where all the links are, and you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Breaker, Overcast Radio, Public Pocket Casts, Podbay, Play FM, Listen Notes, Castro, Google Podcasts.
Wow.
Remember that, much like the neighborhood, the YouTube algorithm is a dark abyss of sorrows and woes from which channels like these never resurface. And what helps us navigate it is liking, subscribing, and sharing the podcast with a friend. On the YouTube channel and the same RSS feed, you get access to not only Duckface Diaries, but Manga Mosaic, a collection of podcasts and video essays on other manga titles, short and long alike. Recently, we put out our top 9 list of the 2020 Jumpstarts, so listen to it and tell me what shit taste I have for forming an emotional connection with a Gravity Boys.
Yeah, no, I legit, like, the series that you picked as the number one was the one that I hadn't even recorded anything for. Not out of disdain, just because I don't think I've read past the first chapter, so I just didn't have much of an impression of it.
I see. But yeah, also follow our sister show, HOVIN'S Hideaway.
Yes, where I don't believe what was the last episode we did on that? Was it the We Never Learn ending?
I think you did one after that. I think the recent Hideaway ramble you did was on the...
Oh yeah, okay, if we're counting Hideaway rambles, yes, I've done a thing where I attempt to summarize in a newcomer-friendly way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is bonkers and barely anyone kept up with it after the first, season. So, yeah, and I gave my thoughts on how it all wrapped up with the new era of MCU TV shows coming in with WandaVision. And yeah, give that a look-see.
Ace, where can people find you? Do you have anything to throw out there?
People can find me on Twitter at Kaito Ace. That's KAITOU_ACE. I'm also on Instagram at Core Beliefs. That's COR Beliefs, because I cosplay Core from Final Fantasy 15. Ha ha ha.
Oh, that's clever.
I don't post a whole ton there because, there are no conventions in the world right now. That's pretty much all I've got. Please continue to support legal manga. We appreciate it.
Yeah, buy a World Trigger, read Manga Plus, give Ace work.
Yes.
Please. And also, if you want to join the Osamu fan club, hit me up on either Instagram or Twitter, and I will be more than happy to send you a club card.
Do it. After all, Hoven is waiting to get a membership for 20.
Yeah, and Ashihara Sensei himself is a member, so if you want to be, in a cool company.
That's true, and his editor.
2 of his editors now, yeah.
Ooh, okay. So Ashihara is member number 1 or number...
He's number 0.
Number 0, okay.
Yeah, he's number 0.
Oh yeah, really, really late question from the. It's not really because I just hadn't thought to ask you this. Have you seen any of the latest season of the anime?
Well, so I watched the first 8 episodes of the first season, and it hurt me so badly I had to stop. And I haven't watched the new one, and everybody says it's so much better, but I can't get my heart broken again. But everybody says it's so much better, so I'll check it out at some point, but I just haven't been able to bring myself to it yet.
It's honestly mind-blowing how much it stepped up.
Yes, it's amazing.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, so I do plan on checking it out. I haven't. I feel like a bad fan because, it's my baby series, but oof, the first season was unfortunate.
I can understand. That is something to heal from, for sure.
Although, I do have to say... so much merchandise came out because of the first season, so it's not all bad.
Although, I will have to chastise you for not watching the filler arc. Which is amazing.
Patrons, please add more to Wensleydale's so that we can do the filler bonus pod episodes.
That's right. If you'd like to help me upload these on a regular basis, consider supporting me on patreon.com/Wensleydale Cheddar. In return for your support, you get access to rewards such as a shout out and your name in the credits requesting a short series to be covered on the Manga Mosaic podcast, a World Trigger Duckface avatar, access to the show notes, requesting a series to be covered on a long-form video essay. High-level contributors get access to manga threads for series from the Shonen Jump Vault I'm reading for the very first time, including my first impressions on the chapters and standout panels. I've just completed my read-through of Assassination Classroom in advance so that the finale post of that should come out in December. Help me reach goals such as reviving World Trigger Abridged or more manga video essays. Now, patrons can vote on the subject of the video essay every time we hit a milestone. Send us emails, questions, comments, suggestions at Wensleydale012@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at Duckface Diaries or individual Twitters at Wensley Cheddar and at Hoven with an H. A sincere thank you to Milo Jack Stillitz, who composed our new ending theme, an orchestral rendition of Giri Giri, the first opening sequence for World Trigger.
Ooh.
You can find his work at soundcloud.com/Milo Jack Stillitz.
Next time, we are covering Volume 11, which covers chapters 89 to 97, which in the anime is the rest of episode 40 to the end of episode 44 exactly. Another neat one. Woot woot. And also as a note, anime viewers get a bit of a bonus this time, because Chapter 89 Plus, a bonus chapter that appeared in Jump Plus, gets adapted in the anime, which I don't think has been translated anywhere in manga form. It's not like much, so it's probably not worth going out of the way to do it. It's like a page of a funny little skit with Sakurako, but yeah, if you want to watch the anime version for that as well, you'll get some bonus content.
All right then. Ace, it was a pleasure to have you on. Oh my god, this episode is so long, I've just noticed.
Yeah, no, F's in chat. It's our longest episode yet!
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been really fun.
It has.
I hope we can have you on again. You have an open invitation whenever there's like a volume you'd like to discuss. Feel free to just write to us.
Ooh, oh, thank you. I will.
I will say next month we're taking a month off, not only because of that, but also because of the fact that these last few episodes were so long, so we need a bit of a break. But in 2 months' time, we'll come back with Volume 11. But for now, this was the 11th episode of Duckface Diaries, and as always, it's time to bugger off.